Back here at NRA Annual Meeting in Houston with Jim Supica and Phil Schreier from the NRA National Firearms Museum. Guys, a treat taking me around here and showing me some of these fabulous firearms here. We've got Frank Graves, the American Society of Arms Collectors, joining us. Thank you for being with us, Frank. Jim, what do we got here?
Well, we're at the American Society of Arms Collectors, which is an extremely prestigious collectors association. It's invitation only. Some of the greatest arms scholars in the country are members, and they put up this spectacular display of percussion arms. And what we're holding right here are the two landmark Colt handguns, the ones that really started the era of repeating handguns and got Colt on the map. One was a total failure, and the other was the beginning of the great Colt legacy. And the one I'm holding is a little Paterson revolver, and this was essentially the first Colt. They call it a Patterson because it was made in Colt's factory in Paterson, New Jersey in the 1830s, and this was at a time when the other handguns available were single shots. They were all muzzle loaders. You poured the powder down the barrel, pushed the ball home, put on the percussion cap, fired one shot, and then you had to do that process again. Other people had tried making repeating handguns, but Sam Colt was the one who got it right, came up with an effective design, and that was this little Patterson. It looks weird to us. It's got a folding trigger that doesn't pop down until you cock the hammer, and then it fires. But you do that, you got 5 shots just as quickly as you can do that. A tremendous breakthrough in firearms technology at the time.
What else do we have here, Phil?
Well, Frank's holding a Walker Colt. And Frank is one of the preeminent historians on Texas arms, especially these two types of guns and their history with Texas. The Patterson Colt was a gun that a gentleman from Maryland named Samuel Hamilton Walker brought to Texas when he became a Texas Ranger. He had used it in the Seminole Wars in Florida, and during the Mexican-American War in 1847, he wrote to Colt at his address in Connecticut, ordering 1,000 of what Frank's holding here, 1,000 Walker Colt revolvers, asking for specific improvements on the new gun over the old gun. You can see that there's no trigger guard on the Patterson. There's no loading lever like there is here. There's a little sight. He wanted a large blade German sight, German silver sight. He wanted a gun that was substantial and heavy and beefy. And so this was the first 1,000 guns made for the United States government on contract for Colt. Thing is, when Walker wrote that letter to Colt ordering these guns, Colt had been bankrupt since 1842 with the Patterson, was not in business, told Walker, sure, I'll get him to you as soon as I can, and ran off to Eli Whitney and said, fire up the engines in the factory. We need to make some guns. These guys don't know we were out of business. And if it wasn't for Walker, if it wasn't for Texas, you wouldn't know the name Samuel Colt today. And Frank, you tell a lot more about the history, because Frank is literally the man with the knowledge on Walker, the Colts, and the Pattersons in Texas. No one has the grasp that Frank does.
Frank, tell us a little bit about these firearms.
All right, as Phil said, they were made by the Eli Whitney factory because Sam Colt didn't have a factory. The order was for 1,000 of these. They made them in a very quick, rapid order. They had 100 that were made for a civilian market later, but of these, they were 4 pounds, 9 ounces a pistol. I mean, as we see, the configuration is a familiar configuration that we would know today, with a hammer, a trigger, and a handle that fits your hand and is not awkward to hold, as opposed to what the Patterson was, which was a smaller caliber, fell out of order, was much more difficult to load, and certainly the Walker was much more suitable for combat. Each officer was issued 2 of these, and they didn't wear them in holsters on their bodies. They were in holsters across the pommel of their saddles.
A whole lot of firearm there. And the guys, the thing I think is crazy is the idea of there's actually a firearms manufacturing plant in Paterson, New Jersey. Can you imagine that?
That's right. I don't know what Tony Soprano would say about that, because that shows up prominently in a couple episodes. But to go from Patterson to the world. If it wasn't for Walker just sending a blind letter to Colt, and Colt basically, shining him on to a point where he said, yeah, we can do that. You wouldn't know the name Colt today. And the history of the walkers, you know, the Texas Rangers, the great stories of the Pattersons against the Comanches here with Jack Coffee Hayes. I mean, just so rich in history. It's just, it's enthralling, and it's inspiring to be in Texas, to be with the preeminent historian on the subject with these wonderful examples of Texas history and Colt history. It's as good as it gets, John.
If people want to see more of these, we will have a genuine Walker and Patterson on display at a brand new second firearms museum that is opening up this summer, 4th of July, in Springfield, Missouri at the flagship Bass Pro shop there. It is the NRA National Sporting Arms Museum, and those will be there along with 1,000 other guns. It's going to be a spectacular new museum.
I'm going to come visit you guys there soon. So, guys, thanks for your hospitality out here at NRA Annual Meeting in Houston, and I'll see you guys at the new museum soon.